Welcome back to Straight Facts. I'm joined by Big Steve. It's been a crazy week in the football world. We will be discussing the allegations being placed against Manchester City. We'll be looking at the return or the supposed return of the Super League. We'll be reacting to Man United's draw last night. Did they bottle title talk again? We'll be having a look at Arsenal and City's defeats from the weekend and how Steve thinks there'll be a reaction from both in the forthcoming fixtures. But before we jump into all of that, Steve, how are you, my friend? Been a turbulent week, I would say, as a City fan.
Yeah, I'm good. No, I'm good. Big week coming up as well. Big game against Villa on Sunday, and then Arsenal away in midweek. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it certainly feels a very kind of maybe not completely decisive, but certainly a week where a lot of question marks around will City overtake Arsenal? Can Arsenal handle the pressure? There'll be lots of that to kind of delve into, which we'll touch on a little bit later. And we may not speak until after that game. So that may be the last time we actually do this show. Probably going to be next Thursday when we go live again. So although next week's really busy with Champions League, Premier League, Europa League. I think Man United are literally kicking off this time next week against Barcelona. So we'll work that out next week. But there's lots and lots and lots to delve into today. I wanted to start off away from City, actually, though, with Man United last night. A poor result in the end after, good result against Crystal Palace. They could have gone level on points with City. What do you think it was that stopped Man United last night? Do you believe it was an element of bottling it, an element of not having the mentality, to catch up with City and potentially put themselves back in title talk contention? Or was it just simply a bad night in the office and, new manager bounce for Leeds?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a bad result. When you find yourself 2-0 down against Leeds, who are obviously big rivals of Man United, there's a lot of history there. The Leeds away support, are getting behind the lads. They've had a change of manager. They've had the manager's gone and they've got a caretaker in. The shackles was off Leeds a little bit, I thought, and you've just got to credit United for coming back. There's something I always say when you're in a title run. You get these games where you're never going to score. If you play to midnight, you're never going to score. But in them games, instead of focusing on the win and throwing the kitchen sink at the team and getting caught out on a counter-attack, which City have done a number of times, I watch them and I think, right, this is one of them days. Let's get something. And the fact that United got a point, that could prove a very, very valuable point. If they'd have gone gung-ho and pressed and tried to get the free and got caught on the counter and lost, that's when it becomes a bad situation. But look, United under Ten Hag are a different outfit. We know that. They've got their heads up. They're playing well. They're just lacking a little bit of consistency. Obviously, dropped the points at Palace away. And then last night was a disappointing result. But listen, compared to the last few seasons at Man United, it's a breath of fresh air for them and the supporters. So coming from 2-0 down, getting a point, probably disappointed, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's funny, really. We had a guy call up last night, and it's a narrative that's being started. And I don't know whether this guy started it or if another YouTuber or content creator, probably somebody on TikTok, because that app is wild for hot takes. And he phoned into the show last night and said, Terry, do you actually think Man United have improved? Obviously a loaded question. So I said, explain yourself first before I answer it. I want to know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And he said, if you look at Ollie's last full season, if you look at 22 games in, I think we were on similar points. I think we were 1 point better off that season. Similar amount of goals scored, similar amount of goals conceded. And his point was, with the fact that Ten Hag's had 200 million spent, we're not actually ahead of where Ollie was. I mean, to bear in mind and paint the full context of this picture, this same caller that same season said that second place finish for Man United was a false position because Liverpool and many other teams were a lot worse than we expected them to be. The same guy and people like him would say that it's unsustainable football under Ollie. There's no progression, there's no patterns, etc., etc. And then it kind of annoyed me on the call. I just thought, how can you even just come on and try and like, it's such a shameless agenda that you're embarrassing yourself. Then I realized afterwards what it was. KJ put this into my mind. It's like when people are laughing at your manager and they're laughing at your players and sort of happy that Ollie's there, happy that McFred is starting the majority of games, you know you got problems. But when people are being bitter, when people are making up crazy kind of agendas, you know you're on the road to success. You know you're moving in the right direction because people can't handle it. And that was a big sort of takeaway for me last night. It was the way that people were so happy we didn't win, but at the same time trying to find weird and wonderful ways to try and discredit the progression so far this season. And I get what you say. I think result-wise in the end, after going 2-0 down was great. At 2-0 down, I thought, we're going to get nothing from this. I think if you look at it from the beginning of the game, we should have started both those halves quicker. We were the better team in both halves. We just had terrible starts and we gave ourselves an uphill challenge. And as well, I think we see the need for further investment beyond certain players. So without Casemiro and Eriksen, there was holes in that midfield that we want to get filled. But really happy with the comeback. And there's one thing I did think of you actually last night when he came on, and Jadon Sancho was great last night. He was brilliant. He did exactly what you said, and he came on and he dribbled well, he pushed hard, he was creative. Of course, he scored the goal, and I think United fans got hopefully a taster last night of what Jadon Sancho is going to bring moving forward. Because if he can perform like that on a regular basis, the flop tag goes away. And it will feel, I know it's a cliche, Steve, but it will feel like a new signing to Man United because we just haven't seen this guy at all, really, since he joined 18 months ago.
No, I said that last show that, he could come back and be a spark. I remember Diaz signing for Liverpool in the January, I think, and he just slotted straight into it, and he was lively, and he gave him an extra leg up, I thought. And I think Sancho can do the same. Obviously, Casemiro's a massive miss. You can see that when United haven't got him, they're a different outfit. But full credit to Leeds as well. It's not been easy for Leeds. They're chopping and changing, and they've spent some money in this window trying to, get some decent players in, and they have. And I think Gnotto, the young kid that scored last night, I think, he's a great little signing, and I'm surprised nobody went for him. But if you look at him, he doesn't look Premier League made. He's tiny. And but I tell you what, he's some player, and I've got to give credit to Leeds. They've been hammered at Old Trafford before. They've been proper levered there last time, and I think it was last time they got levered. And to go there and put it on United, who are arguably the informed team, fair play to them. So I'm not discrediting Leeds. I'm sure the Leeds fans would have took a point at Old Trafford before the game, but with no manager to go there, bit of a the shackles was off them, I think, and they just went for it. But I don't think United fans should be too disappointed. I think the atmosphere and the aura around Man United is different. It's all right, people going on about Solskjaer days saying you haven't changed. You have, because, Solskjaer, you got second with him, but there was this massive divide amongst the fan base where you had the Ollie in, the Ollie out, the Ollie fucking shake it all about, and nobody knew who was going where. But now, with Ten Hag, the club looks like it's all solid as one. They're all behind the manager now. They're all happy that there's this takeover talk. And obviously the players he's brought in, they're getting behind the new signings. So, points might be similar, but you're only as good as your last season. And for me, it's the feel-good factor at Man United, I think, is back amongst the fans. So I think this season United are a totally different animal.
Yeah, listen, I agree. And I think that, I say, when a guy said it triggered me. It definitely did. And maybe that's what his whole objective was, is just to try and wind me up. But like, I don't know about you, I feel like banter's great in football. You need it, but certain things are just overly milked. And sometimes people try too hard to create a narrative or banter. And it's like, just let it go for a moment, And I think with Sancho, there's a comment here that says there's still a flop Terry. A few good moments over his whole United career doesn't make him a Prem player. But that isn't what I said, is it? I literally said, if he can come back and he can keep performing like this on a consistent basis, he'll get rid of the flop tag. So I didn't say one good substitute appearance stops him from being a flop, my friend. You're literally saying the opposite to what came out of my mouth. And we know what Jadon Sancho needs to do. When you spend 70-odd million pound plus on a player, they need to deliver. But if the reasons why Sancho is underperforming and behind him, you're going to see a next level player. And I think the way Sancho's been handled, I think the way Rashford was treated in the summer by the manager, I think the clean process of removing Ronaldo, I do think these kind of these soft factors have really helped the fans get behind the manager. It feels like we've got somebody back at the club who's really in charge, who's running us well, who's sort of pulling us in the right direction. And there's a style of football that we like watching as well. So it's happy days there. And of course, all of that is kind of underpinned this week with the news that there's going to be potentially some Qatari investment. It has been confirmed today that essentially the same Qataris that are especially involved, QSI, who own PSG, will not be involved. It's a different Qatari company called QIA, but they're interested in putting a bid in for Man United. Of course, there's Ratcliffe as well, and it does feel like it's beyond the beginning of the end. It feels like the Glazer reign is coming to an end. And do you get the feeling, obviously, living in Manchester, that when they announce new owners, that's going to also be a massive boost to everybody at the club, including the fans?
If they announce new owners, I'm sceptical of it all. I think these Glazers, if you look, they got rid of Ronaldo, and the day after they announced a statement that they were looking into investment into the club. So the whole Ronaldo announcement got swept under the carpet, and pandemonium in Manchester reigned, and all the Reds were twerking for the Sheiks and thinking that the Glazers was gone. It's no coincidence. United takeover news comes out the day City are getting charged by the Premier League, and the Super League flops up. So you don't know with this media these days and what's going on, unless there's some concrete evidence and statements going about from these people saying they've put a bid in or whatever. I wouldn't believe it, because them Glazers, to shift them out of that club, I think it's going to take a lot to do it. And I think they don't want to go peacefully. They might be saying they want to go, but I've just got a feeling that they're going to hang on to a little bit of that club somehow. You know what I mean? But it is what it is.
I have that fear. I do have a fear. I just feel, look, if it happens, there will be, when I say there'll be carnage, I mean this with respect, there won't be. There'll be lots of shouting, there'll be a protest, there'll be lots of hashtags, but nobody will actually do anything. I've been quite resolute in what I did. As I was a season ticket holder from about 2007 up until, I want to say it was till 2015, 2016, around that time. And I had a conversation with my dad, and I was moaning one Sunday afternoon. I went to my dad's for dinner. I was moaning about the Glazers and how they run the club. My dad just kind of said to me, why are you giving them your money then? If they're only after your money, why are you giving them your money? It's kind of how me and my family operate. So if we don't believe in something, we don't participate in it at all. Unless it's, I don't like how my government spends tax, but I can't legally not pay tax. Outside of that, if I'm someone, you must have seen this all over the internet. You'll see like a thread of why Amazon is the worst company in the world. I'm only going to share that thread and condemn them if I'm willing to not use Amazon's products. And I treat even my football club in that same way. I love Man United so much, but the way I kind of view things for a long while is every penny I give them, it helps to enable the Glazers' poor behavior. I understand it from the other aspect that for some people it's their main social hub. Some people just want that they can separate the supporting the boys on the pitch from the people that run it. And I really respect that to a degree. However, every conversation I've ever had with any Man United fan has always been, what do you think the Glazers are after at United? They're only here to make money. Like, then we have the power, don't we? You pull that money away and they will sell. The irony is they're looking to either sell now or sell part of it because they're out of money. There's no money left. So the irony in it is, as much as people don't like what I say about boycotting and pulling money away, it would take no more than 6 months for them to sell if everybody pulled their money. And the one thing about match-going fans is they have a lot of power that I don't sometimes think they know they yield. This notion that if they all stop going, 75,000 new fans would take their place. I don't think it's true. I think if the diehards, the home and aways especially, boycotted and said, we're not doing it for this reason, and explained it properly.
The thing is, Terry, if you boycott it as a match-going fan, you're hurting yourself more than them, because you love the club and you watch the team. So if for me to stay outside the stadium or for me to not watch the club, I don't think I could do it. I'll protest. I'll handcuff myself to the goalpost. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. But when it comes to the badge and the players on the pitch, that's who I'm there to support. And a lot of United fans say the same. It's very different abroad. Fans have walkouts, they'll turn up at the training ground and kick off and all that. We get that. In this country, you're getting nicked. You're getting a 3, 4, 5-year banning order from the ground for doing anything near the stadium.
Yeah.
Just for example, me and Saeed went to Old Trafford the other week before the derby to film a preview outside. Now, I've done this at the Etihad numerous times. You walk around the Etihad and the security are there, but they're all right with you, you know what I mean? They're approachable. They let you do your thing and that's it. This was like an MI5 operation. As soon as we touched foot on Man United property, they was on us. Security was on us. They wanted the camera off us. They wanted everything off us. They're frightened to death. And we ended up we had to go in hotel football, Gary Neville, fair play to him, and film. But I've never seen anything like it round there, you know what I mean, the way they are. But I just think, you know, the match-going fan does have a lot of power, as you're saying, but they also know that the match-going fan loves the club and it's in their heart and they don't want to do anything to jeopardise it. So, you know, it's all right. And people saying on the internet, why don't you walk out the stadium? But when you've been to every game for the last 30 years and you're backing your boys, you don't want to do that.
I completely get it. And this is where sometimes I've tweeted things before. And when I tweet about this, I always know it comes across very Lee Gunner, very like controversial, maybe not the right language being used, and confrontational. And I think I've got to that point because I've invited some people that are involved in like the 1958 group. Let's sit down, let's have a dialogue about it. And please let me explain my view of it, and maybe you'll get it. And I totally agree, because when I gave up my season ticket, it hurt me. Even now, like I speak to Jess about it all the time. As much as I love doing what I do for a job, I genuinely miss going to games. I miss everything about, especially away games and European games away. I miss that with every single ounce of my being. It was something just the planning, the prepping, the traveling, the having fun with your friends. The game was great. But I'm not even going to lie, going to football matches, everything else surrounding the game, in some respects, was even more enjoyable. You know, the whole day was part of it. The social aspect, I loved it. And it did hurt me to give it up. But my view of this was, the analogy my dad gave me, and it just resonated, was kind of like this. He said, if one of you, as in one of me and my brothers, he goes, was hooked on drugs, he said, I'd lock you in a room and watch you sweat it out. He goes, I don't care how much pain you're in, you're screaming, you're crying, but that would kill me. That would hurt me watching it. But I'd make you go cold turkey and then get you into rehab. He said, I wouldn't do. And my dad speaks about this from a point of experience. One of my dad's best friends had a son who was hooked on crack. And his dad would just go out and buy it for him. It was like, oh, no, I didn't want to see him scream or hurt. Every time we tried. And it was something that resonated with my dad. And I know it's a very warped and very serious example. It's the one he used with me. And it resonated to, it's going to hurt me in the short term. It hurts me in the short term, pulling my money away from the club. But I kind of felt that if everybody followed suit in the long term, we'd have rid of the Glazers. And if they're gone, then we can go back to loving and supporting the club. And I just see it from that point of view. It's how I see most things when it comes to, even with that right now in the UK with energy. I don't know how this would work it logistically, but there's a way we could lower energy prices tomorrow as a nation. Just everybody stop paying your bills. They're not going to cut all our electric off. They're not going to do it. Like, everyone stop paying and they'll lower the bills. But the problem we have in England is we're all, and that's not a dig at anybody, we're all, generally speaking, a little bit soft. I'll moan about the energy prices, but pay it, as an example. I'll moan about food prices, but we all pay it. Man United fans will moan about the Glazers, but then keep going and buying shirts. We don't force change. And that's why, for me, I've just someone that's become, and I think social media has done this to me, where I'm like, how do I say this in the right way? I hate people that moan online and do nothing tangible about it in any capacity. So I think I've just got to a point where it's like, you're going to say Glazers out, do something about it. If not, shush. If you're going to moan about how bad Amazon are, cancel Amazon on your app and move on from it, you know? I don't know.
Well, United fans broke into the ground against Liverpool, got the game abandoned, yeah? We had the protests, fair play to them. And then 3 months later, they signed Ronaldo, and the queue for the mega store was right round the fucking stadium, and they broke records for shirt sales. So you can't have it both ways. This is what I'm saying, you know, and that was mad. You know, the same people that were standing outside the shop with bed sheets with Glazers out on it were sat in the bedroom the week after with a Ronaldo 7 shirt on. So make it make sense,
mate. But that's exactly my point. And it was almost a case of, you're not, for me personally, if buying the Man United shirt is more important than helping to get rid of the Glazers, I don't think you Glazer out on the side. Glazer out would be nice. It's a nice thing to have, but you're not Glazer out. It's there's a comedian called Kai Kurd. I don't know if you come across him on socials. Really good comedian, based in London. And he does this joke, and it's so funny. He's like, if you want to see if someone's serious as an activist, hold a protest on a rainy morning, a rainy Monday morning at 9 a.m. and see who shows up. Then you'll know who's serious, not a sunny Saturday afternoon where it's a piss up and a walk. And you laugh at, we all know it's true. People were like, certain things happen. Oh, yeah, there's going to be a protest. And I get what people would say. People are not working on Saturdays. It's easier for them to be there to a degree. But if this is something that is the most important thing in the world, you can take a day's holiday off work. We're not living in a developing country. Everyone's got annual leave. Take a day's holiday and protest on a Monday morning in the rain. No one's there. How many protests happen at those times? Those teachers that struck the other day and went on a march, they cared about that. That's why they were there in the middle of January, walking through the streets in minus conditions. People that don't really care, that just stick a black box on Twitter or tweet that, Greta Thunberg's great, isn't she? By the way, I'm not having a pop at any of those organizations. They do what they do. I just see through the virtue signal, and we'll get onto it with the Super League a little bit later. But the Super League's the same. I'm seeing people, it's a disgrace. Yeah, but you'll still do match reactions to it. So why don't you shut your mouth? I've got an issue. I've just got an issue with the kind of the virtue signaling side of it. And that isn't to say everyone who's a season ticket holder at Man United is a virtue signaler. I know they're not. However, it's a case of, if we keep funding them, if we keep giving them, we get new owners that partly by 25% and they clear some of the debt. And then fans go, hey, and start spending money and the share price rises again. How long is it going to be till we're back in this position? It might prolong things and make things better for a small period of time. But I still think in the end, the Glazers are going to take money out of the club. They're going to fail to invest as much as we need them to. If the new investors don't have any say in how the club's being run, how is it actually going to improve long term? So for me, if they don't sell the thing 110%, we have to do more than just protest, more than just hashtag. There needs to be some tangible action that damages them financially. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting one to see how it kind of turns out. Terry Tate here. No, I'm not. Listen, Terry Tate. I don't really think anything I've said is connectable at all to what Andrew Tate says. To be fair, but that's just me. I just don't like virtue signalers. That's all. I mean, if you believe in something, do something about it. We had a company once that was interested in sponsoring the Terrace, Steve, and they were like, "Could you run us through your diversity policy?" And I said, "I don't have one." And they looked at me like I was an alien. I don't need one. I don't need one because I'm a proper person.
Yeah.
If you look at the people I employ, if you look at the people that we have on our shows, there is no quota or I'm going to make sure I have this type of woman and this type of man and this type of the individual. And I've got to make sure I've got this. Just if you apply for a role and you're good enough, you'll get the job. If you call in and you're good enough, we'll have you back on again. I don't really care. And I think that if you just treat people as individuals and you just kind of like normal, diversity will naturally develop itself in you. And the Football Terrace has it in abundance, and it's not forced. It isn't me going around patting certain individuals on the head going, I will give you a chance because the government says I've got to. I just don't subscribe to that way of thinking in anything I do. So yeah, virtue signaling, get the hell out of here. I ain't going to do it. I'm just going to be me. And if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. David, thank you for becoming a member, my friend. Really do appreciate that. Viewers, make sure you smash the like and the share button for us today. I did want to jump into this with you, Steve, as we let the audience kind of build up. City's allegations. Obviously, I know we've been talking behind the scenes. I've had my say on things this week, what I think and feel. Obviously, we've made some videos talking about the leaked emails that have been published by, I think they're called Der Spiegel from Germany, which are old. We've said it in the videos. These have been out for a number of years now and have a connection to the charges that have been raised by the Premier League. But from your point of view as a City fan, what's your sort of gut feeling towards them? Do you feel like there could be any guilt? Or do you feel like maybe this is more of a setup or a witch hunt from the Premier League to make an example out of City?
Well, first of all, one thing you got to remember is when it came out a couple of years ago that Manchester City were banned from the Champions League for 2 years, this was exactly the same reaction. Every single content creator, every single rival fan said you've been cheated, you banned out the league, you're going to be going down, you're going to do this. So we've seen all this before. So it's nothing new to us, you know what I mean? But everybody assumes that Manchester City's guilty all the time, like they assumed with UEFA. You know, big organisation, K can't be wrong. They must have the evidence. So it goes to the Court of Arbitration of Sport, yeah? We clear our name. Apparently, we still got fined 9 million, which we know we did because we failure to disclose files and stuff, which we felt we didn't have to disclose to an organisation that was asking for them on the pretense of leaked, possibly fake emails. So that is our right as a company that we thought, no, unless you come to us with something concrete, not plastic emails or fake emails or leaked emails, then we ain't going to come to you with the evidence. We'll see it in an independent inquiry. And Manchester City were clever. That's what they done. They went to CAS, Simon Pearce and all the lads who wouldn't give evidence against with the UEFA bit, went to CAS, give evidence. You've seen the paperwork that says CAS couldn't find any evidence that the Etihad sponsorship was paid by third parties. And they also said, you know, that the Etihad sponsorship was of fair value. Now, you've seen them court papers today from CAS from 2 years ago. So, yes, we did get fined, but it was from not revealing or handing in our paperwork in time, right? So that's from CAS, yeah? That's not from Big Dave down the road who goes in the pub and tells you that Man City are guilty. That is from CAS. So that case, not guilty. So this one, same thing comes out. Manchester City are charged with the Premier League. Okay, that's fine. We've been here before. So my point of view as a Manchester City fan is this. This show is called Straight Facts, yeah? And the straight facts are this. At this present time, now as I'm talking to you on here, Manchester City Football Club have not been proven guilty of anything. In this country, by law, you are innocent until proven guilty. So I know all the channels are saying we're guilty. I know all rival fans, you know, are getting all like flustered and hot and jumping around and you're going to get this done and you've cheated and all that. That's fine. You know, you can say that all you want. But the actual straight facts of the matter is you're all talking out your ass because we've been charged and now we're going to have our day in court, which Manchester City statement says, and we're going to clear our name. Yeah. So at the end of the day, you know, Manchester City, we can't win, Terry, because if we are guilty, we will be punished and we will be called cheats, and rightly so, right? But if we are innocent, we will be called, oh, you must have paid somebody, you must have done this and you must have done that. So it's a lose-lose situation for Man City Football Club and Man City as fans. But one thing I'll tell you is, all the Manchester City supporters in the world are pulling together. We're all getting together because we know all the nonsense that's out there. And we trust our owners, we trust Khaldoon, we trust Sheikh Mansour, yeah? And the thing is, we as supporters don't know the facts. You don't know the facts. Dave in the pub don't know the facts. Fucking Johnny down the road ain't got a fucking clue. But there's a lot of £2 YouTube lawyers and Twitter lawyers that have piped up this week claiming to know the evidence. But they know fuck all, the same as me and you. But all we can go off is facts. And the facts are this. At this present time, Manchester City are innocent. Nobody's getting the titles back. Nobody's getting relegated. Steven Gerrard didn't slip because Mancini's pay slip came from another company. And Man City didn't do the Aguero moment, yeah, because Yaya Touré's agent got an extra few quid. So people need to relax. People need to chill out. People need to just wait it out. And we'll see at the time what happens. But if Manchester City are guilty, there'll be nobody more ashamed and disappointed than me because I love this football club. But at the end of the day, I trust this football club. I trust everything about the football club. I trust the owner, Khaldoon, and everyone about it. And at the end of the day, I'm going to back them 100% in this case, like we did last time against the big bad UEFA, and we won. And I believe that in this one, we'll win again.
I hear that. And one thing I will say is this, and I'll be very fair on this. I obviously, as a United fan, I'm going to embellish in some of this and have some fun with it. The same as I know for a fact, Man City fans will do exactly the same.
Oh, yeah, definitely, 100%.
In that side. What I will say is this, though. If you guys are proven innocent, so it comes out, we get to read the reports, and it's they provided all the evidence and it shows 100% they did nothing wrong, I'll come out and say, listen, apologies for doubting, and I will just personally push the attitude of, well, City never cheated. I won't call them cheaters. That's all I can say individually. In terms of the Premier League, there's a comment here that kind of alludes into a question I had. It said the Premier League wouldn't go through this without reason. Do you think this is a witch hunt against you from the Premier League? Do you feel like you're being set up in any way, shape, or form, or could there be, or the adage of no smoke without fire? Like, how do you think this is actually going to go, or why?
I honestly don't know, Terry, and that's the one thing none of us know. The ones in the dark in all this are us, the general public, and the fans. We don't know. We've had a statement from the Premier League saying we're charging you with breaching these rules. They got them rules wrong. On the first statement they put out, they got them wrong. They had to retract the statement and redo it. So they fucking can't even put a competent statement together. And two, Manchester City came out and said, you know what? We're looking forward to this because this is where we will put this to bed once and for all. Now, I'm not being funny. You're not messing around with, a poor organisation. You ain't messing around with stupid people. You're messing around with some of the directors and people of the biggest companies in the world and on the planet. And Abu Dhabi with the richest, people around who all are in companies all across the world, telecommunication, airlines. They're dealing with this every day. So I don't think they're going to put their reputations on the line to try and swindle a few bob or make it look fluffy on the books. I don't think they're going to do that. And the Premier League probably think they've got some sort of cases to answer for, but City seem confident. So listen, all we can do is bring it on in court. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. It's all speculation. But all I know is this. Every single rival fan in that Premier League has already got Manchester City down as guilty. You can tell by the comments. But the facts of the matter is, at this present time, we ain't guilty. So people need to hold it. Because these are the same people that if Man City are found innocent, you'll never see them again online, Terry. You don't see them. It's like me on a match day when City go 1-0 down, I get hundreds of DMs. At half-time, when we're winning 2-1, it just says message retracted, message retracted, message retracted. So they're all shitbags, innit? But at the end of the day, we're used to it. Keep throwing the stones, man. But people shouldn't throw stones in glass houses.
Well, look, I think, listen, I get why people are going to banter and stuff like that. It's such an interesting one. But where this case is a little different from UEFA's is that there is an appeals process, but the appeal will just go back to another independent inquiry. And I don't know how many times you're allowed to appeal it, if I'm being honest. But the fact that this can't go to court, this can only happen via an independent hearing. Is that a bit of a concern in case, I'm not saying there's going to be brown envelopes, but let's just say the independent inquiry agrees with the Premier League and they find you guilty of, say, 80 of these 115 or so charges. Is there a concern that if there is a witch hunt, if there is a kind of directive to damage Man City, that even if you're innocent, you could still be seen, they can still force through guilt? Is there concerns in the sort of City ranks and City fans of that happening?
No. I think, listen, I think if we're getting judged by the Premier League or judged by UEFA, for one, does anybody who's a football fan trust UEFA? After everything they've been through and the bribes and Platini and all them people, would you stand and put your hand on a Bible and say that UEFA is an honest organisation after everything we know about them? No. So why did City put it through CAS? Because they knew they had a better chance there, and for the exact reasons as you're saying. And the Premier League, right? Man City ain't trusting them either. Let's go to an independent commission and let's see it out. And I trust the commission. I don't believe in all this backhanders and bribing and all that. I don't. If you're guilty and you've done something wrong, you'll be found guilty. And if they're found guilty, that Manchester City as a club and the fans will take it on the chin. But what I'm saying is, all this nonsense at the minute, you're treating us like we are guilty and we're not. And last time you treated us as we were guilty, you damaged the reputation. You said we cheated and all that. And we got found we didn't. And at the end of the day, nobody said out about it anymore. They all went, all right, and moved on. So it's the same old thing for us. We're taking it on the chin as a club. But I don't know the facts. You don't know the facts. Nobody else knows the facts. We just know we're speculating. So I get people what I call us cheats because we've been the best team in England for the last 10 years. And we've been fucking levering everybody. And we've won the quadruple in our own country. That's never been done. We did the Formidables. We've done the Centurions. You know what I mean? We've won League Cups. We've won FA Cups. People don't like that. So they're all going to jump on it and try and kill us. But at the end of the day, You can say what you want on these shows. They can say what they want in the chat. It's not them or their decision. It's going to go to the committee and the evidence will be proved and Manchester City will hopefully clear the name. End of story.
Yeah, listen, I think for me, like if I remove the banter for a minute and everything else, the way I feel about it is I do feel there's something not quite right. I've been very open about that. I'm not going to change my tunes. I'm sitting in front of you. The fact that Man City have more revenue than some of the biggest clubs in the world with fan bases that you know they clubs like Real Madrid and Man United sell 3 times as many shirts as an example. So the fact that the commercial revenue in the last year or so has gone above that, there is something about it that don't sit right with me. And that isn't a dig.
No, let me answer your question on that, yeah?
Go on.
West Ham United, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
They turn over more than AC Milan. Leicester City turn over more than AC Milan, right? So just because you don't like it and just because it doesn't suit the narrative of these great clubs like Real Madrid and Barcelona, to think that Manchester City Football Club, right, who have won, 6 league titles, cups, got to the last 2 of the Champions League for the last decade on and off. They own the City Football Group. They own 14 clubs around the world. They've got sponsorship deals all across the globe, everything coming into the club from everywhere. Just to think or be that shallow-minded to say that Man United sell more shirts than City and Real Madrid sell more than shirts than City, and that's all it's based on. It's not. But the most successful team in England over the last decade apparently isn't allowed to make any money. It's not allowed to earn prize money. It's not allowed to make money off transfers. It's not allowed to, look at the academy. Our academy is one of the best in the world. Look at all the sell-on clauses. Look at everything. Jadon Sancho, you bought, you had to pay us money. Pedro Porro just gone to Tottenham, they paid us money. Ivan Illich just gone to Verona, they paid us money. Gavin Bazzuno never kicked a ball, 16 million. Romeo Lavia, 16 million. Larius, 6 million. There's a list of players going on. So people can say that all they want. Oh, how can you turn over more than this? Well, Barcelona, for one, never had no shirts in their club shops for 4 months because they didn't pay the bill. Yeah. Real Madrid are having a big stadium development. So there's a lot of finances going offset everywhere there. But all this nonsense about Man City can't turn over more than Man United or Barcelona, well, I'm fine, you can. It can happen. And you can't make it up. Because how can West Ham turn over more than AC Milan or Benfica?
So I get, one of the reasons they want to bring the Super League back, a lot of the European clubs, is because the Premier League is so powerful because of its TV deals that clubs like that you've mentioned there, the West Hams, are now turning over more than European super clubs because of the TV rights money here. And
we get the most TV rights in the country now. Manchester City do. The last 5 years, we've got the most TV rights.
I understand that you do. And I just think that the reason, for me on the outside looking in, because of these accusations, because of these leaked emails, because of all of this that's surrounding City, I just want to know that it's genuine. The reason I want to know it's genuine is because the accusation has been made. It's like anything. You never really think anything dodgy is going on.
Have you ever thought about this? Have you ever thought it's because it's a well-run club and because they've actually got owners that know what they're doing?
And that could be it. But then when the Premier League, and by the way, the Premier League is just 20 football clubs. But when the Premier League and many clubs within it are saying they feel there's something dodgy going on, and then there's 100.
They will do, Terry. They will do because it's jealousy from them all, innit? They will do.
And Steve, it could be, and it could be jealousy. But from my point of view, now that they've put this out into the ether, football fans in general want to know that it is genuine. I certainly want to know that it's genuine because
would you as a football fan, want an owner like Sheikh Mansour to come in your football club, improve the stadium, the training ground, every facility, the women's team, East Manchester, all the projects around Manchester, get involved in it, never take a penny out of the club, always put his money in and build you into one of Europe's great clubs? Or would you want the Glazers to come in and take £2 billion out of your club, don't touch your ground, your training ground's a shithole, Ronaldo left because you got the same fucking jacuzzi, and the whole place is a shit show? But apparently one club can spend as much as they want because they sell more shirts, and the other one's not allowed to spend his own money and they don't owe a penny.
So I would say this. I said this to Lee Gunner 2 days ago, and I'll say it again. I want more regulation. So I want the FFP, or whatever you want to call it in the future, I want it to stop owners like the Glazers, one, how they buy clubs.
We was the only club in the Big Six to vote for independent regulation in the Premier League.
I totally get that. And I'm just to answer your question, I want them to stop owners like the Glazers from, one, buying with debt, which they've done, to be fair, and two, running clubs into the ground, taking money out, etc. Equally, I'm very happy for owners to invest in their clubs. I've said for many years, what the Cities and the Chelseas and the PSG spend, I've had no issue with. However, if my club had, and we might very well, it's just come out now actually while we're live from Matt Law, that there's going to be 2 bids from Saudi Arabia and 1 from Qatar for Man United. So if we end up with super rich owners from the Middle East that are investing in our club and they do a great job, but then there are big accusations of fraud or cheating or doctoring the accounts to earn even more money to buy the best players in the world, personally, I would be asking for the same. I wouldn't banter it like I'm bantering a rival, but I'd be saying, right, well, let's have our day in court. Let's investigate it. Let's share our information. If somebody wants to come and investigate my organization and my business because they think I'm doing something dodgy, I'd open the doors to the HMRC tomorrow because I have absolutely nothing to hide. And I think my point of view as a football fan is now the accusations out there, I need to know because the accusations when they're read don't always make sense. There's one here that come through. Someone's put on the super chat, and these are things I just want to have answers to. And it says here that 8+Bet is a major City sponsor based in Vietnam who only have 10 employees on LinkedIn. Something definitely is fishy with the sponsorship of the club. And I think that there may be nothing wrong with some of these companies. There's another one that a journalist found who have a PO box in London. They don't offer any services. They don't sell any products. They don't have a website. They can't find any employees, but they pump millions of pounds a year into City. When journalists or investigators find that and then football fans see it, everybody wants an explanation. And I think as a City fan, and you've already said it earlier, if it goes wrong, you get found guilty, you'll take the medicine on that. But as a City fan, I would also want answers as well because the vast majority of your club's trophy history has been created in the last 14, 15 years. Or large amounts of it have been done. Now, I would want this investigation now as a City fan, as I think the club have said. We welcome this because you want to be able to clear your name. And it doesn't matter, I think, if rivals still say, you still cheat, you still cheat, you still cheat, you still cheat. You'll have cleared your name in court. But there's definitely some elements that are fishy. But I think the reason they may be fishy is what you said at the beginning of this, which is you refused in the past to give out information. And it appears in these charges, you've also refused to give the Premier League information. And maybe in this, it's not really a court case, but maybe in this kind of arbitration with the independent moderator, you'll show them the documentation that proves that there's been nothing untoward.
Do you know what happened? UEFA came to him and said...
It's like, bruv, when police turn around and go, look, we want to search a car, and you refuse to, it makes the police suspicious. And I think the Premier League have said, look, if these accusations have been made, can we see X, Y, and Z documents to prove that these accusations are not true?
No, they wanted to see all emails. And Manchester City, I read it today, and Manchester City said it's not a fishing trip. You don't just get to come in and go through everything. So they said, tell us what you want and we'll give them you. So they said they wanted emails regarding this. And they said, well, that's a leaked email that's been obtained by criminals. So you don't respond to that. If somebody come and arrested you for a crime and said, we want you to provide this evidence because this guy hacked your computer and told us you did it, would you do it? You'd say, nah, man, what are you talking about? Where have you got that from? It's all about law, and they don't want to drop themselves in the shit. They're not a small company. They're a massive company, be advised by the best lawyers in the world, and they told them, don't be giving out paperwork.
So I understand that, and I understand why they would say no, but I also get it from the other point of view. If I have an email of mine hacked and it goes viral, and suddenly the police or HMRC, whatever it is says, we want to look at more of your emails.
Yeah, but you're a small fish. This is a multi-billion-pound organization with reputations of princes on the line.
But the reaction is going to be the same, but just in a larger scale. If City turn around and go, no, we're not letting you look at it, of course the Premier League are then therefore going to be more.
No, because then you're admitting that these emails exist. If you say what you're talking about, then they've got to prove by no reasonable doubt that them emails are real. But how can they prove them unless you give them access to your emails, which you don't have to do because they was obtained by theft? The guy's going to jail. He's on trial for that.
So he can't be going to jail for obtaining emails if they're not real, though. If they're fake emails, he's not going to jail, is he?
What do you think he's done to Manchester City as a brand by putting them emails out across the world? Do you not think he's going to get in trouble for that? Or because I could write an email about you and put it on Twitter tomorrow.
So is he going to prison for creating?
No, he's done leaks. He's done leaks about Ronaldo. He's done leaks about other clubs and stuff like that. He's in serious trouble because.
But is he in trouble for leaking real emails like illegally, or is he in trouble for faking
well,
documents.
that's the thing. How do you know what's a real email unless you get access to the emails? And people ain't giving access to the emails to see the genuine. That's what I'm saying. It's all.
I would clear my name if somebody today. And I know I'm not a big multinational company, but if somebody took an email and said, "Oh, look, here's Terry committing fraud or saying something racist or doing whatever," I would share my I would let an investigator.
I know. We would.
My name.
We would, because we're just what you want to clear your name because you're a one-man band. But what I'm saying, when a whole organisation is up and a whole paper trail of things is up, their lawyers have probably said to City, "Don't give them nothing." That is not how it works. Give them nothing. When we go to CAS, and if you realise, when we went to CAS, we brought the evidence to CAS. And they saw the evidence of the Etihad sponsorship being of fair value. And they saw the evidence of no payments coming from anywhere else other than the sponsors. So that proved them in CAS that them emails were bollocks.
Well, I think the thing is, though, all the payments have come from sponsors. What the accusations are is that money gets fed into the sponsors by other organizations or people and then transferred. So the idea would be, when you read the leaked emails, is Etihad, they may say it's a fair price, but the idea is you've got to pay 100 million, but Etihad Airways, out of their own money, are only paying 8 or 9. Somebody else is backfilling the money into Etihad Airways and sending the money through. That does become hard to prove, though, because you won't even prove that through looking at Man City's bank accounts. You prove that through going through Etihad Airlines bank accounts and seeing who has pumped and funneled money in. And this is why this is an interesting one, because they're not going to have to, when it comes to kind of civil matters, you don't need to be able to prove it beyond reasonable doubt. This isn't going to court for fraud. This is whether or not the independent adjudicators think in a balance of probability whether this was done or not. And I think if you're refusing to give access, refusing to show and be kind of cooperative to prove that these emails aren't true, it really depends on how the adjudicator is going to see that. The adjudicator could see it and go, well, yeah, you can't prove City have done anything wrong. We're backing them. They could also say, well, City are being a bit shady here, so we're going to side with the Premier League. I'm very intrigued with what direction that goes in.
They backed us because when we went to CAS, we proved that it didn't happen. And the law states you don't have to give up them emails. Illegally obtained emails, you don't have to give up. So Man City didn't do nothing wrong, whether you like it or not. They got banned from failing to produce paperwork in their timescale, which they were advised not to do. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Man City cleared the name. We took it on the chin, the 9 million, which is fuck all to them. They took it on the chin for withholding paperwork because they thought they'd get a fairer trial at CAS, which they did. And they didn't get a transfer ban. They didn't get a 30 million. The sponsorship deal was proved to be of full value. And the sponsorship deal was proved to be paid by the sponsors and not filtered from anywhere else. So it's gone to the Premier League charges now. You've seen some of them about the grass. You've seen some of them about Torre, a certain kickoff time, an area at the side of the pitch that wasn't provided for officials. There's a few charges there. So you're saying 100. There's another 35 charges there of failure to provide documentation, same as what happened at CAS. So it is what it is. They might get done for that.
And I agree with that. And there's someone here that says Terry is wrong. It's on the Premier League to prove that their guilt. And exactly. I understand that it is. That isn't what I'm looking at. The point that I think people are missing here, this isn't a criminal court. So in criminal court, you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that a crime has been committed. This is civil based. So we have the Premier League have already made the charges. It's going to a independent adjudicator. The one thing about this isn't whether City are guilty or innocent. This is just based on human judgment. City refusing to cooperate could either help them because the adjudicators might say, well, we haven't been provided enough evidence to say City are guilty. It could hurt them because they may say, it feels like you're covering something up. That's not saying you're innocent or guilty. That's just juries work like that, even in criminal court cases. Like you never quite know how a jury is going to take or respond to something. So it's an interesting one there. There's a few super chats here and comments I want to go to. First one says, according to FA rules, the source of evidence is an irrelevance, is what Steve Runn says. But that isn't what Big Steve has said. Big Steve has just said we've got no obligation to show them more emails, not that they can't be used as evidence. So, but thank you, Steve Runs, for that. Adam here says, what about the CAS time barring charge? They are now able to use now, and they were only not able to use that time barring in 2020.
Nonsense. That guy's talking out of his ass. They all are. I've just seen someone on there. If you're not guilty, why did you pay 9 million? We just said we're guilty to not providing the paperwork, so we were fined 9 million, but we were found not guilty, to the charges of inflated sponsorships and being paid by separate companies. So I don't know what people don't understand, but the charges that would have banned us from the Champions League and fined us 30 million, we were found not guilty of. We was guilty of not providing the paperwork and fined 9 million. We accept that. I don't know what people don't understand about that, but I know there's some kids in the chat, might be 10, 11, 12 or something, but, you know, news rounds on or something, you need to go and watch that, man. Chill out. Fucking mad, isn't it, man?
This says all teams do dodgy business, so we need to stop judging City or put every team on the table and punish them all. It's going to be an interesting one. I do agree. This could be a can of worms as well. I guarantee there's a few other club owners sitting there, just like when the Premier, not the Premier League, when they announced the London 2012 Olympics. I always remember this comedian, I can't remember who it was, doing a joke saying that there's all these old East End gangsters shitting themselves, so they're going to start digging up all the wastelands where all the bodies were buried. It's funny how every Man City fan have proved their team to be innocent. I've
not said we're innocent. I've just said at this time now, we are innocent because we are. Terry, have we been proven guilty?
No, you haven't. You haven't. Tahir says City were not found guilty by Kaz on the main charges due to the time bar rule, is what Tahir says. A bad argument. The Serie A has notoriously bad finances. Compare them to their English teams, not to teams in leagues that struggle with finances, is what Tyrone says. Thank you, Tyrone. Sorry, Terry, I disagree with your guest. The issue is not how rich the City owners are, rather how much can they legally invest in the club. Thank you for that member chat. FIFA is dirty, UEFA is dirty, proven facts. What makes people think the Premier League and FA is clean? Why is the Premier League going back 15 plus years incompetent, is what Carl R's got to say. And there is a question in there as well for the Premier League as to why has it taken so long? Maybe it was the leaked email started the investigation. Maybe it's the UEFA thing, but there is definitely some questions there for them. And do I 100% trust the Premier League as well? The answer is no. Chelsea made the Premier League react because all leagues are pissed with the spending this year. Not a coincidence. Straight after Chelsea's Madness City story goes out. In fairness to Chelsea, this investigation has been going on for 4 years, so Todd Bowley wasn't around then, but I hear you. Thought City were not found innocent, but only on a technicality due to time lapse. Besides, Man City does not sell more shirts. Please be honest. Basically, City are completely guilty, but don't want to solidify the prosecution's case. The bias of this City fan is alarming, is what's said here.
Tell me what I've said that's biased. I've said we got found not guilty of the charges in CAS, which is true. And I've said we are currently not guilty of anything, which is true. So I also said if we're found guilty, then I'll be ashamed of the club and we'll take it on the chin. But if we're found innocent, I expect an apology. So please tell me what bias there is in that is alarming to anybody, because I've been open and honest. I don't know the facts of the case because I'm not involved in it. And all I can do is come on here as a Man City fan and give me honest opinion. And I've told you my honest opinion. If they're found guilty, there'll be no one more ashamed of the football club than me, because I spend thousands and thousands a year going all over the world watching this football club. And to be felt like I've been misled, or somebody who was running my football club had done that to us, I'd be ashamed. But on the other hand of it, I've had all this before, you're guilty and all that, and every comment in the chat says the same. But if anyone out there's got a brain, we could be found not guilty. And then, like you say, I expect apologies, but I won't hold my breath.
No, and I hear that. And listen, I think what you said there, I alluded to it on the Top 6 show Monday, that like, if I was a City fan, who I feel the most sorry for in all of this, listen, it's a bit of banter. Gerrard getting a medal, United getting 3 more, the Aguero moment never being played again. It's a little bit of banter. But the people that I really would feel sorry for is City fans, as you say, that have invested time, money, emotion, and all sorts for the last 14, 15 years. To have all those memories essentially wiped if the large amount of these charges are proven to be true, it is heartbreaking. And as much as I'm sometimes football fans and rivalry bothers me a little bit. I love laughing and bantering losses and defeats. But like one thing in football I'd never want to happen is like Liverpool to go out of business, or City to not exist, or Arsenal to be out of the Premier League in reality, because the rivalry is what makes the football more exciting. The idea of it all just being washed away, it's horrible. And I don't like fans. I always stand up for fans of clubs because generally most fans are from working class backgrounds or have a connection to the clubs that are built by the working classes, and we've got to get behind them, which is one of the reasons why when these accusations come out, I care so much about them, because I want fans to be treated correctly. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one indeed. If you are so innocent, why be so? I don't know what that's meant to. I can't read that word. I'm thick. Something. If you're so innocent, then uncooperative. I think he meant to write. I think he means uncooperative. That's the only word that, unless that's the word.
That's a question for the club, isn't it? It's not a question for me. I don't know. I didn't make the decision. If they've been, you know what I mean? If they've been asked to not give evidence by lawyers, then you know what I mean. It is what it is.
Here's a question for you: what's the most important thing, to beat the charges or find the truth?
Find the truth.
Yeah, I'm the same. And look, I'm a bit like you. I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I don't believe that.
You want the truth. Yeah. You want to be as a football fan who goes home and away. You want to be in safe knowledge that your club's being run the best of its ability. That everyone wants that. There's fans out there now who haven't got a club because owners like Bury FC and that didn't run it right. So then the people are devastated. Their livelihoods have gone and things like that. So at the end of the day, you just want to know that the people that are in charge of your football club that you love are doing everything right, or for the best interest of the football club. So that is all we can do. And we're totally in the dark. But what I don't like is on every single channel, every single football chat, it's guilty, cheats, guilty, chilts. But the fact of the matter is, we're not yet. So, you know what it is? Everyone made their mind up about Mason Greenwood the other day when he came out, whether you like the decision or not. The verdict's come out. No one's talking about it now. Where's the energy now? You know what I mean? Where's all that energy? Why aren't they condemning it? Because it's been thrown out. So it is what it is.
Tahir says, Terry, if City paid Mancini from another company in the UAE for working in the UK, then they avoided paying UK tax. They didn't. He was actually the only bit of this I've actually heard is that he was paid by a company from the UAE when he was coaching City in the UAE. So it was actually for work. So you got to remember this. I actually understand this to a degree because of the department I worked in the bank. Roberto Mancini would be classed in the UK as what they call a res non-dom, a resident non-domicile. So he's likely, you're non-domicile in the UK when you're likely to retire in another country. So someone like Roberto Mancini that wasn't born here, who's only working here for a period of time, he's likely to not retire in England. So he's considered resident non-domicile, meaning that any work he does outside of the UK, he doesn't need to declare and pay any kind of UK tax on. So tax-wise, that's what he would have done. How do I know that? Because I used to set the bank accounts up for people to do that. So that's what he would have done there. So again, legally, there's nothing wrong with what's happened at City, as far as we can see. That's what I would say. But there we go. Viewers, please make sure like buttons are being hit for this show today and subscribing. Of course, the backdrop of this as well now, Steve, is the Super League might be back. What's your take on this? Because obviously a lot of people are angry, a lot of people are frustrated, a lot of people are out virtue signaling again about the Super League. It's going to kill football. Football's over. What's your thoughts on their kind of PR today that they're going to launch it back and actually to put it up on the screen? They're talking about this time there being 50 clubs, relegation, open-ended, so more teams can get into it. What's your thoughts on the return of the Super League?
I'm just not a fan of it, to be honest. I didn't like it first time round. It's just not for me. But football at the minute, you know, it's not football anymore, is it? You know what I mean? I find that most people these days are talking about everything other than football. Nobody sits there and talks about the game, the players, how it was played, who scored the goals. Everyone's talking about, you know, everything other than football. Super leagues, you know, charges, rape cases, fucking all sorts of nonsense. And it's like, it's just everything to have a go at each other, pick on each other's clubs. Your owners are better than my owners. I don't like him. He's shit. It's just all mad. So this Super League is just another load of madness that's come out this week. I mean, I heard the guy's statement saying that certain clubs were getting left behind, established clubs and all that. I don't know what it means. And, you know, it is what it is. Well, none of us have got a say in that either. You know what I mean? We can riot again and probably get it cancelled, but I don't know where it's come from. I don't know. I thought it was all put to bed when everybody shut it down, but it's clearly raising its head again, isn't it?
Well, I look at it this way: it's not something I want per se. I'm never against change, though. And let's see how this kind of goes. I get the feeling through. I think what's really important to remember is so far today, this is pure PR from the Super League. Pure PR. They definitely have an agenda against the Premier League because the Premier League is so powerful financially. And that's just because I've been saying it for 10 years, with the best league in the world. People love. I've even seen fans whose first clubs are Premier League clubs still go, nah, the league is better, Serie A is better. It isn't. If it was better, they would be doing what we're doing, but we're run very well, whether people like it or not. Not perfectly, but it's run very well. It's marketed brilliantly, and it's a compelling watch. The Premier League is a compelling watch week in, week out, and it's worth money. Teams like West Ham are now richer than teams like AC Milan, and the European clubs want something to try and compete with it. What's really interesting, though, is they also know that without the big Premier League teams, there isn't going to be the global audience to give them the money they want in the long term anyway. So they actually need the English teams involved for the Super League to work, but they want the Super League so they've got more money. And I still get the feeling that in the end, some kind of hybrid version is going to be made. You'll end up getting UEFA getting involved at some point, and I think something like this will happen, and it will become the new Champions League. I think that's what will end up happening.
They're changing the format of the Champions League anyway, aren't they, to be a league? So
yeah. They're gonna. That's what they're gonna do in the end. I don't see this happening personally, but then at the same time, am I 100% not against it? I said at the time, as long as there's jeopardy, as long as anybody could work their way into it, and you can get relegated from it if you're no good, then I'm not going to protest it, and I'm not going to scream and say it's the wrong thing to do. Equally, I will definitely if the English teams are in it, I'm definitely making content in relation to it. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite and start saying it's killing football and then do a match preview and a match reaction and whatever else to games in it. I'm not, again, like I said earlier about being, I don't say Glazer out and they're money hungry and they're killing the club and then go and buy a Man United shirt. I can't do that. I won't do the same with this. But I just don't see it happening personally. The Premier League clubs can't do it. The Premier League clubs have signed an accord and have signed an agreement to say they will not participate in any leagues outside of the Premier League. This would have to, the only way this works is if it conjoins with UEFA or replaces UEFA as the main European competition and sits alongside the Premier League in that way. Then, if the money's right, the Premier League will sanction it and they'll go and do it. We all know if the money's right, then they'll go and do it. But there's just no way the English teams are doing this and leaving. Just none. There's absolutely no need for them to either. Because I still think if you get all the top European teams in a league versus the Premier League, we will still get more views globally than they do. So it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it was a little disappointing to see it today. I think there's a lot of panic from people. But if you actually look, there's nothing being proposed. No one signed up to it. It's purely a PR move for them saying that we're thinking of doing this again. And football, they're going down the route of what they're looking at all the mistakes they made before, and the way they're wording it. Football's being killed, football being destroyed by money. So what we're going to do is throw loads of money at it.
Right. I can't afford to go to watch Man City home away in the league and then fly off to the San Siro one week and then come back and fly off to Madrid the next week and all that. So I think it'll kill a lot of fans like that. You know what I mean? Fans in them countries will probably go and take your place in them countries when they're watching it, but it just becomes too expensive all around for everybody. And it's just, I don't know. It's just sad. I mean, there'll be some people out there who want it and they'll love it and that. But I just think the majority of the working class people, the ones that are 9 to 5 and just enjoy going to the football, them European trips, and just going to be beyond it.
Well, this is, again, the crazy part about it is they actually wanted good PR. They should be talking to fan groups. If they turned around and said, listen, because the money for the original Super League was ridiculous. It was like 500 million a season for every club that was in it or something. If they turned around and said, listen, we'll do this, but then we'll make the travel cheap for fans. So essentially, I'm making this number off the top of my head. They could easily do this, working with airlines and hotels, and say, okay, so if you're a Man City fan, you're in this competition, you're obviously going to have 7, 8, 9, 10 away European games per year. But the way it works is your flight, your accommodation, and your ticket price is £100 a head. We'll use the billions that are being pumped into it to make it accessible for fans. You'd actually never do it. But that's the stupid part about it. That is how you get buy-in. but they won't do it. And that's one thing about the Bundesliga, which is amazing. Over there, like you can get for like 40 euros pays for like your train fare to go from one side of the country to another and your ticket for the game. Like the way they look after their fans is absolutely astonishingly good. And I do look at the way that even the Premier League, UEFA, all of them work, is that nothing's ever about making it cheaper for fans. Everything's always about making it more expensive. You look at Spurs, they built them that brand new, brilliant stadium. And then they're charging them for the privilege of it. And it's almost a case of, I get they've got to make their money back. But if you don't start winning things and you don't start producing brilliant football, all you've essentially done is got your fans to pay for a bigger stadium that they still don't win anything in. If you're going to create something like the Super League, you've got to incentivize fans to get behind it. And if you make their football viewing experience and travel cheaper, you put more money essentially in their back pockets, they're going to love you for it. The fact that they have all they care about is making money, that is really the problem here, because money rules all the time. And eventually, I don't think it's more than 20 years away. If they keep doing things like this, more and more of the working class are going to get pushed away from football. There's no doubt about it in my mind, because it's just you can't sustain it. So they've got to do something, but I doubt they will. There's a few super chats here. The first one says, name me one billionaire who has become rich the right way. Boogeyman, that is going to depend upon your view of what the right way is. Successful people in general nowadays are not liked by anybody. Even in your own communities, there'll be someone that starts a business and everyone's, oh, well done you. Then he starts rolling around in a nice car and everybody starts to hate on him. So I don't know what you mean by that. Equally, what are you getting at? What is your point behind that, Boogeyman? I want to know, my friend. Make the Super League happen. I'm sick and tired of American football, hockey being put on a pedestal. The MLS is nowhere near as fun as attend. Why do you want the Super League to happen, though, my friend? I want to know. What's so broken with football now as to not change it? What's your view?
You've seen the reaction last time. It was literally shut down in days. People didn't want it. And I missed a cup final because of it, because I went back to Man City and handed my ticket back for the Carabao Cup final because I was against it. And then ended up missing a cup final, which to me, to miss a cup final is bad, but it was about what you believe in at the time. And I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Sometimes football can get you, you know, it's the best game in the world and we all love it, but sometimes football can drag you into a dark place. And then when that Super League, you're seeing a lot of the fans, man. The fan power was every single club came out, and that's what's going to happen. I don't ever think that I think these businessmen, they sit around a table and they believe it's a great idea, and they look at the numbers and they think, bloody hell, this is brilliant, and we could all make a few quid. But they underestimate the power of the fans, and the fans came out and rattled the core of them, and they'll never get it over the line, man. They'll never get it over the line.
No, I don't think they will. I agree with you 100% on that. Would you show all your emails to the rest of the league, sponsors, ongoing deals? 4 of the 6 are led by Man United, pushing for it according to Sky. Carl, listen, would I do that? Depends on the situation. Obviously, City are being advised not to cooperate, and that could end up being the right thing for them to do in terms of clearing the name. It could end up being the wrong thing, depending on how the adjudicators see it. But each to their own on that decision there, my friend. Let's see what comes out in the wash, you know. As I said already, if in the end it goes against City and they say, if you just cooperated and showed us everything, we would have found it on your side, then they'll see it as a mistake. If it goes their way and not opening their mouth, it's one of them things, Carl. Let's see what way it goes. But I get it from both sides. That's why I'm intrigued to know what the outcome is. Seriously, as a Gooner, it's the fans that have to feel the pain. I feel the guests' frustration is what Beck Gemini has got to say here. This one's for you, Steve. So, Steve, if City are found guilty, what do you think the punishment should be?
I don't know. I've been watching a few videos of different people trying to compare it. Obviously, Juventus and Marseille and that got stripped for bribing and bungs and stuff like that. That was a criminal matter. This is financial. Juventus just did get punished financially, 15-point deduction. I don't know. I don't know the rules of it. We literally don't know anything. You know, we're only supporters. We know as much as each other, but I'd rather the Premier League come out with a instead of a journalist, I'd rather the Premier League come out with a rule of what it means if they're found guilty and what it means if they're not. Because one thing I would say, if Manchester City are found not guilty, then I hope they take them to the cleaners in court for damaging the brand, because, you know, what's gone on this week on every single news channel, sports channel, pundit channel, talk sport, all that is a load of shit. So it is what it is.
I agree. I mean, it depends on what and how many charges they're found guilty of. And I said the other day, until we get the full detail, if they're found guilty of the grass being too long or too short and the medical room's not being right and they're found guilty of not complying a few times, you're probably talking about a fine. If they're found guilty of falsifying income to a point where they could afford to build the squads they've had, then you may find that titles get stripped. It really depends on the severity of the findings and the level of kind of the type of breaches and how much. Again, if they falsified documents by a couple of million to stop themselves being banned by FFP, I still look at that as very different from falsifying tens and hundreds of millions, because you would just, do you get where I'm coming from? You're talking minuscule amounts. I think it's impossible to answer until we know the outcome of it. What isn't impossible to answer? One question I do have for you in terms of your race in the title with Man City. Sorry, with Arsenal. How do you think this situation is going to impact you? Do you think it's going to drag the team down? It's going to make them a bit more inconsistent? Or do you think it could help galvanize the side in this kind of title race? And of course, you've got a big match in just over a week against Arsenal. How do you think this will impact the team on the pitch?
I don't think it affects the team. I think the players and Pep and the team are just concentrating on football. I think they've been told by the people at the club it's just business as usual. I don't get why any of the players would be worried about it. They've just got to do their job. And at the minute on the pitch, they're not doing their job. So, you know, I'd be more concentrating on actually getting results and scoring at Tottenham than worrying about what's going on in the boardroom.
Yeah, they've got to do that, because Sunday was another game where I think we've had this conversation 2 weeks running. You just didn't look right, if that makes sense. There's something kind of missing. How do you think you'll bounce back in the next couple of games, and what sort of changes do you think Pep's got to make to the team and on the field of play?
I honestly believe we're not good enough. This season. There's something missing. I keep giving them the benefit of the doubt, thinking something will change. They're going to twig something here and there, and it's all going to fall into place. But I've watched this team long enough to know that there's something missing, and we didn't get anyone in January, so that ain't going to change it. He's tinkering with the team weekly, trying to find something that's not quite working. I just don't think we're good enough. And it's not about the Arsenal game. We're good enough to beat Arsenal. We're good enough to beat Villa. We're good enough to go on a bit of a run. But I don't think we will. I just don't think we've got it this season. I think we're tailing off. And Sunday was the one for me. You go to Spurs, and that's not a great Spurs side, to be honest. And we just looked out of sorts. We just looked like we're lacking something. And I'm the most positive City fan you can get, but I'm also real. And if you're asking me now, are we going to win the league and beat Arsenal? I say no.
Wow. Listen, do you know what? Like, you're the only City fan legitimately out there who I think is that honest. And obviously we've spoken privately about that, and that you sort of said 2 weeks ago you can see some holes and see some problems, and I agree. And of course you could turn it around if this weekend maybe the situation kicks you all into gear, Pep gets it right. But when Arsenal lost on Saturday, I didn't think Arsenal were battered. They just weren't good enough on the day. I thought City could do something now. City could come out. You heard Carl Walker talking before the game. We know what we've got to do. Put your best team out there. Get the 3 points.
That's what he's not doing. Our best defence at the minute with what he's got is Nathan Ake at left back, Ruben Diaz, Emily Laporte and Kyle Walker. He's playing Akanji and Ake at centre back. He's playing Walker. He's playing Rico Lewis, young kid, all over the place, in inverted fullbacks. Phil Foden's not been playing. Bernardo sometimes on the bench. It's all a mismatch at the minute. I don't know what he's trying to get at. It's so frustrating for a Man City fan to watch when you've got one of the best strikers in the world who's scored 31 goals already this season, and you can't believe how he's done that, because they literally don't get the ball in the areas for him. You watch him, the runs he makes, no one's finding him. It's all dried up. It's weird. But look, Pep's got to find the answers to that. but I just think we're not good enough this season. I think there's a lot of players that are running the contracts down to the end of the season, ready to go on. And I think it's obviously not been a happy camp there this season, but we're still second. We're still in the Champions League. We're still in the FA Cup. So it's not doom and gloom crisis time. I just believe that when you get this title winning team in your system and you go week in, week out, you get this feeling about the team, and it's a weird feeling you get when you go in the stadium. You pretty much know that you're on it. I'm not getting that vibe. I'm stood there watching it and it just looks disjointed and rushed, and Pep doesn't look quite there, and Kevin De Bruyne doesn't look quite as, and it's just, there's too many things going on for me, and that's just my honest opinion. I could come on here and say we're going to win the league, and all the City fans would jump behind me, and Big Steve and all that, but I've done that over the last few years because I believed it. I put my chest on the line and said we'll do it. This season, nothing's making me change my mind. I just don't think we're good enough to do it.
Do you know what? Again, Steve, this is the thing. Like, I agree with you. I've been saying it for months now, and all I've had from the, and it's funny seeing all the City fans in my comment that attack me saying I'm a secret Arsenal fan, I have a City agenda, and I saw a few of them when I said Steve's coming. Oh, Steve will put you right to in our season this year, and they must be feeling gutted right now because you said the same thing. And I don't hate.
I said it on my channel. Yeah. I said it on my channel. I just said I believe that there's something missing. And do you know what? I go to the game and some fans will come up to me and say, "Love the positive, Steve." And then some fans will come up and go, "Steve, why don't you just call it out, man? You know we're not playing well." And I say, "I know I'm not, but I've been trying to give it the benefit of the doubt, hoping something will change." And I can't see it. And the Tottenham game, I thought, nah, Arsenal's dropped points. If there's ever an incentive to go out and win that game and put them to bed, after beating them the other week as well, when they were 2-0 up and coming back, that should have been it. And we didn't do it. We'll go on Sunday, we'll probably beat Aston Villa, and then it all tees up to the game. And can Man City beat Arsenal at the Emirates? Of course they can. I'm going down there. I'm going to back them 100%. But I just think there's something missing. I can't put my finger on it, Terry.
Mate, I agree with you. And it's hard to. And there's a super chat here that says, what's missing? Is it sort of no pace in Sterling and Jesus? It could be that. It could be adapting to playing with a number 9. One thing I've noticed a lot when you play is there's so many times where Haaland makes a run and he just needs an early through ball and it's not being made. There's also an element of just, it could be slightly psychological. Just 2 years of winning the title and you're going into a third year. And I see a similarity between what Arsenal were doing and what Liverpool did in the 2019-20 season, where you guys are on the back of 2 very intense seasons. You got into that third one and Liverpool weren't going anywhere. And I just think sometimes it's 5%, 10% drop off where players, and I think it's a kind of subconscious thing where they just go, oh, I haven't got the energy to keep fighting like that because you've done it for 2.5 years already. And you only have to drop off in this level of football by 5%. It's really hard to pinpoint the problems as fans, maybe even as the coaching and the management staff are looking at it, scratching their heads, but you're just not quite at the races. Do I think City are finished? That people love to do that, don't they? They're finished. There's a new era. Listen, Man United are on the way back up. Arsenal look brilliant. City, whether they win the league this year or not, will be in amongst it again next year, no shadow of a doubt. But I agree with you. There's certainly something there missing, and I can't quite put my finger on it either. I think a lot of people are blaming Haaland, and I think that's really unfair. Like, Haaland's made them worse. Like, do you agree with that notion, or do you think it's people not finding him?
No, listen, he's got 30. If Haaland stopped playing now, he'd probably still win the Golden Boot. So that's how good he's been. He's doing his job. There's games where I've seen him not touch the ball for 22 minutes, and that's not his own fault. If he starts coming in midfield looking for the ball, people are going to slate him for coming deep. A lot of it's just down to the supply line. Kevin De Bruyne gets his head up early, tries to get them balls in, finds him a lot of the time. Riyad sometimes has a great opportunity to get his head up early and let one go. He doesn't. And Jack is the same. Jack's doing really well at the minute, playing well, but the creativity side of him, sometimes it's frustrating. But listen, it is what it is. I spoke to someone at the club the other day, and they're working on all sorts of different things. But Haaland definitely, he's a superstar, man. We've just got to find him.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that the blaming him is crazy talk.
Some guy just said in the chat there, Big Steve, if he gets any more red. I'm in my office and someone's left the heating on and it's 31 degrees. I've just seen it on a thermostat and I can't turn it off. I'm absolutely roasted, mate.
Before before we went live, I was speaking to you. I had to get up. I got up and I turned the radiator off in this room and I opened the window because I was the same. I was sitting there and I was like, I am going to get stinking hot. There's no doubt.
What's going on? And I just looked, then it said 31 degrees, the door shut. I was like, shit, she left the heating on.
Bro, do you know how expensive heating is? You want to get that turned off, mate? It'd be a grand bill, a grand bill at the end of the month. Yeah, look, it's going to be an interesting one. I'm looking forward to the game between you and Arsenal next week, though. I think I almost wish it was this weekend. It's kind of, it's weird to go this long into a season without seeing the two best teams in the league play each other. I do think Arsenal is slightly better than you. It's at the Emirates, but it's one of those games where I think if you can beat them at the Emirates, the title race is on irrespective, but I think that could change the course of performances in the season. However, if Arsenal win, I do think that's it. 100%.
Do you know what, Terry? I said it the other week, right? Arsenal don't need to worry about us. I'm telling you now. Arsenal need to worry about the smaller teams in the business end of the season when you get a little bit complacent and you think you're going to roll them and you end up dropping points. That's what happens in a title running. City's done it loads of times. And Arsenal probably underestimated Everton a touch at weekend. But with Sean Dyche coming in, you knew they were going to work hard. They nicked a goal and they held on. If Everton under Lampard nicked a goal, they would never hold on. Arsenal bury them. But Arsenal just got to do their own thing. And look, there's going to be a lot of twists and turns. If United would have won that yesterday, you would have had to say United's in the mix. People saying to me today, United's not in the mix, but they are. They're only 1 or 2 results away from everyone overtaking each other and flipping. So, listen, it's too early to call it, but, you know, I've given my honest opinion on it, and I don't think at the minute we're good enough.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. United, listen, every time the word title is mentioned, they shit their pants. They're not ready. They're not ready yet, but points-wise, they're there or thereabouts. And, yeah, I'm really intrigued to see City.
Jake Mansour better be paying my fucking eating bill after all this defending the City I'm doing. I'm going to send him a bill.
I hear you on that. I do. Listen, viewers, I want to say a big thank you to each and every single one of you that's tuned in today to watch Steve and I. We'll be back. I don't know what time next week. I've got to work it out because there's so much football with the Champions League returning, Arsenal, City, United, Barcelona, loads coming up next week. We have a super chat here, actually. It says, I think City will win. Pep knows what he's doing, is what Kingsley says there. Well, I bet Big Steve hopes you're right on that one. Everyone who's tuned in, thank you. Please hit the like buttons before you leave. Steve, always a pleasure to speak to you, mate. Until next time, everyone, take care. Goodbye. God bless. See you all again soon. Thank you.